really noticed how young people have an entrepreneurial spirit within them. They really have so much potential. I also noticed that a lot of adults or policymakers don't really see this potential. And so I think young people really deserve some sort of a different approach to have their voice represented. Number one barrier is always the lack of mentorship for them. I see them having societal perceptions a lot more than young men. We really need to have that knowledge and that research to be able to prove what this advocacy is. I don't want to focus on things that I cannot control. I want to focus on things that I can have control over.
Hi, Sarina, and welcome to the AboutHer Show, a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us. To tell us about their successes, failures, ups and downs, challenges, all of it, so that not only do they get a platform to share their story, but they also help us inspire other women. Women who are listening in, who have dreams, ambitions, but for some reason are not able to follow those dreams. And then, along with women, we also get men on the show, men who champion such trailblazing women, because we believe that for a truly gender inclusive world, men and women need to be allies in this journey. Now, when I was looking at your profile, I was quite fascinated by the kind of work that you do. First of all, a young girl who is inspiring others, encouraging others to follow their dreams. And you're not restricted to one country, you have, spread out to different countries. And the young people, young women, you're encouraging them, motivating them, pushing them. And it's, it's really nice and very refreshing to see that we're living in a world where people are no longer following run of the mill occupations, vocations, professions, but doing things differently and making an impact. So, very, very impressive indeed. I mean, I'd really love to know more about your journey. And once again, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for having me here. It's such a pleasure. And yeah, I would love to tell you more about my work. So, my work started early on when I was about 11 years old, 10, 11 years old.
Wow.
And I really noticed how young people have an entrepreneurial spirit within them. They really have so much potential to solve many of the social problems we're solving. We are trying to solve the social development goals, including gender equality. And there's so much of innovation that could be made in order to address these critical gaps. And I saw this potential, and I also noticed that a lot of adults or policymakers don't really see this potential, or most often it is ignored, just the way that my friend was ignored when she proposed her idea for a social problem of lack of school supplies that was affecting education. And so I really wanted to get involved and represent the voices of youth and make sure that us as young people are able to innovate. And certainly, I am someone who really advocates for women as well, because women are so active in social problems, and we see a lot of young founders who are female or want to be entrepreneurs, and they are so passionate about these critical issues, both economically and socially. They're so active, passionate, and capable of doing so many great things. So it's such a pleasure to be working with these incredible young women who inspire everyone along the way as they're doing incredible work.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, as I understand, your mission is clear and it is global. Now, what I want to know is what was that personal moment that made you realize youth, especially young women, needed a different kind of entrepreneurial support?
Yeah. It was just my friend, and we were in elementary school. We were working on a idea for a project, and it was just going to be a simple project that we were going to present and never going to remember ever again.
Mhm.
She came up with an idea to solve the lack of school supplies, which was a really big problem at that time. Low income families weren't able to have access to those resources, and there was also a waste of those resources among other communities. And so she came up with an idea to be able to address this. And when we presented that as a startup idea to our adults, like our teachers, our parents, it was not perceived as even something that they would consider. So it was very much ignored. And I saw that her idea had so much potential, and we could at least try that, give it a shot, but it was never even taken seriously a bit. And
Mhm.
so I saw that a lot of other young people have these incredible ideas that not only add economic value, which we really want within our society, but they also add so much social value that we really need to address these gaps within our society. And so I think young people really deserve some sort of a different approach to have their voice represented, but also be able to enter into policy rooms, break those age restrictive systemic barriers for them, and give them the resources to solve our problems from a global standpoint, and really innovate for those problems.
Wonderful. So it's interesting to see how you spotted that opportunity, you spotted that gap, and you decided to fill that gap. Because many times we see, there are gaps, there are things not happening the way they should be happening, or certain times things don't happen at all. But I don't think everybody will take the initiative to plug that, a hole, or, plug that pipeline, or whatever it is that you may want to call it. They may not want
Yeah,
to address it and may just leave it, maybe waiting for someone else to do it. But kudos to you for having not only identified, but then having decided to do something about it. Okay.
appreciate
So through Youth Forge, this
it.
is your setup. You engage with thousands of young people across countries like
Yeah,
India, Ghana, Japan, and
yeah.
Canada. So my question is, what are the strongest common challenges youth face regardless of geography?
Yeah, I think the biggest number one barrier is always the lack of mentorship for them. And this is commonly seen across many, many countries that I've talked to. They face a really big barrier of not knowing how to handle and push for their idea. That's a really big problem that we are commonly seeing. So, lack of knowledge, that lack of expertise is really present. And we are starting to partner with universities to be able to offer these programs so that they're able to gain that basic knowledge of financial literacy, how to handle mass amount of money or even little amount of money. They really need to know, and they also acknowledge that this is something that I need to know before I start having a business. And it's a very common gap that we're seeing.
So no discrimination there. Across countries, you see that this is how it
Yeah,
is. I think, yes,
absolutely.
a lot of, people who are older, they tend to, view youth a little less seriously than,
Yeah,
they sometimes don't take their ideas seriously, or they just don't
absolutely.
think that they are capable of doing something which they themselves are doing. So I think it's very
Mhm.
important to give that equal opportunity to everyone, regardless of their age, regardless of
Absolutely.
gender. So what?
That's also yeah, that's also something that's very commonly see of the societal perception.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with that.
So this brings me to my next question. Now,
Mhm.
at the same time, gender, it shapes. ambition differently across cultures? Because gender has a very different, important role to play. And
Mhm.
you come across both young men and young women. So my question
Mhm.
is, how have you seen young women experience entrepreneurship differently from young men?
Yeah, that's such a key question.
Thank
For
you.
me, from my experience, I see them having societal perceptions a lot more than young men. And I mean, we just talked about societal perception and how that follows young people, but for young women, it's even more because we're adding stereotypes and um, discriminations that are happening against genders. And it is so unfortunate to see that how the society perceives certain outcomes when the action is taken from a certain gender. And for me, when I started this, I never thought I would face these stereotypes because, in my mind, this was the 21st century. You wouldn't really expect that, but it is happening. It is something that's genuinely happening, and it's so unfortunate. And but I also see that young women are so much more active, ambitious, and capable of doing whatever they're doing. And I see a lot of these startups are in the social impact area. They're social entrepreneurs, and they're trying to solve um, like these gaps that we're facing within our society, which is so amazing. And we are so in need and in demand for these innovations. So,
Yes. So you're right. Actually, women, whether it's young or old, they continue to face these kind of challenges and barriers across societies, across cultures, because I think all these barriers, all these, how should I say, obstacles are so deep rooted in our societies,
yeah.
the prevailing patriarchal norms and all of that, that it will take us time to get rid of them. But the great thing is
Absolutely.
that we are working towards it, we're realizing it, and women are more and more, coming out into the open and doing things
Mm-hmm.
they, earlier could
For
not.
sure.
So tell me, this organization, Youth Forge, it uses data-based advocacy to
Yeah.
influence policy. So my
Mm-hmm.
question is, why is data so powerful in ensuring youth and women's voices are taken seriously at decision-making tables?
Absolutely. Love that question. So, when I wanted to advocate for these age restrictions, I mean, when I was at Keswick Tailoring, I made a lot of connections with young founders just like myself, and they had a common problem of not being able to maybe register their business, get funding with their current age, and many other problems that they were facing. So when I started advocating for these barriers at my local chamber of commerce, there wasn't really data backing that up, but there was also no data to not support that. So I started doing more and more research, and I saw that these big organizations like Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, many other big names, are stating one single problem, and that was there is a big gap of us understanding the barriers of young people. We don't really know what are the things that are holding them back, or even if they're interested at all. And so that was quite unfortunate because I could not advocate for these barriers because I had no data to back this up. But I also had no data to go against this um, advocacy that I was going to do. And so I thought maybe we should bridge this gap first and then utilize this to be able to advocate for those barriers. And it's so important within every area of advocacy, whether it's for gender equality or young people. We really need to have that knowledge and that research to be able to prove what this advocacy is going towards.
That's right. If you have the facts and figures in place, then it is so much easier to, push your cause, push what you're doing because you actually have some proof that this is
Yeah,
what it is and this is what we need to do. So,
absolutely.
So you must, of course, have come across many young women who have ideas,
Hmm.
do things, and they want to achieve so much. But we see that women, they have ideas, but then they hesitate to step forward.
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
comes to young women, what do you think are the invisible barriers holding them back and which rarely make it into policy discussions? I mean, the kind of barriers that nobody ever talks about.
Hmm. Yeah. I think there's so many little barriers that we don't really know. Um, for me, I think women for themselves, there is a self perception to themselves that they aren't really capable of doing because historically, women really aren't represented uh, within many different sectors. And there is a self perception of themselves that I'm maybe not able to do this, I'm maybe not capable, but that is so untrue. That is not at all true, and we can see um, many women, despite all the barriers. I mean, considering all those barriers, they still were able to make to incredible places with incredible impact, and we don't really like to talk about that, or maybe because we don't know about it, but that self perception is very limiting and it's holding a lot of young people back, young women back from doing what they are very much capable of doing. So, removing this and knowing that they are so capable of achieving everything that they ever desire, and that capabilities don't rely on gender, they really rely on hard work and work ethics and how they're able to pursue the goal that they want.
That's so true. Your ability to follow your dreams, your ability to do what you want has nothing to do with gender. But I think, it is the way girls, daughters are raised that we
Hmm.
always hesitate, we always doubt ourselves because we feel as though we are, stepping into unfamiliar territory or territory that is
Yeah.
not meant for us. So I think that
Hmm.
kind of makes us feel that we are not capable enough. But you're right. Your capability has nothing to do with your gender. It has
No.
with your
Yeah.
knowledge, it has to do with your self confidence, your understanding of the issue. So there are so many other things which are more important than the gender. I think gender
Absolutely.
should be the least important, but
Yeah,
unfortunately,
absolutely.
it becomes important. All right.
Yeah.
So tell me, as a woman leading, in global policy adjacent spaces, have you encountered moments where you felt the need to prove your credibility twice as hard as men, or did you feel that you were on an equal ground? And in case you had to work hard to prove yourself, how did you navigate that? How did you do that?
Yeah. I think, yeah, 100%. That is a very, true real scenario that is happening around the world. And as someone who is fortunate enough to live in a first world country, I face that, and I see other young women who aren't fortunate to live in societies where there are at least some sort of a groundwork for gender equality. They face that even more extreme with
Mm.
more severity, and it is so unfortunate to face those barriers. But I think there's certain barriers that everyone in this world is going to face that they have no control over. And for me, I don't want to focus on things that I cannot control. I want to focus on things that I can have control over, such as my ability, such as my knowledge about a certain area, my there are so many different things that I could work on, and I try to focus on those. And then at a certain stage in my life, then I try to advocate for those barriers that I had no control over so that they are not a factor, which is exactly what this podcast does, of really removing that barrier, amplifying the voices of young women, making sure that their voices are heard, and people have someone that they can relate to. So for me and for many other incredible, powerful young women that I meet, we really try to focus on things that we can control and things that is going to have a positive impact on the outcome.
That I think is such a critical realization. Even as you go along, you grow older in life.
Yeah.
Knowing this, that you can only control what is in your control. You cannot control everything,
Hmm.
because what we do is we
Yeah.
try to control everything, and things which are not
Yeah.
in our control, there's a lot of wastage of time and effort over there. So
Yeah.
focusing on what you can do, what you can control, I think that's the key to success in no matter whatever you're doing. I think that's the
Absolutely.
to know that this is what I can do, this is what I have control over. I think that clarity is so, so critical. And it's amazing that you have this at this young an age. So, again, kudos to you. So, tell me, we talk about mentorship and the critical role it can play in guiding, counseling, showing the path and all of those. But we also understand that mentorship, the opportunities, they are unevenly delivered, and
Yeah.
especially for women, it's difficult. So
Yeah.
the question is, what does meaningful mentorship for young women founders look like in practice?
Yeah, I think not only the knowledge for mentorship, but also how your mentality should work. Because us just ignoring that gender inequality doesn't exist is not going to work. Then having programs where we integrate um, how we, as people who face gender inequality, should encounter that is really important. So, working on, for example, just knowing that you're really capable, knowing that you can achieve whatever you want in this world, and having that empowerment as a part of the mentorship is really important. And in practice, we are working on university partnerships. So universities are so critical in providing knowledge in many different sectors, including entrepreneurship. And it is also very good for themselves because as they are providing more programs, they're providing more reputation for themselves. So, and I really encourage any youth advocacy organization out there to go and get some sort of a partnership or gather mentorship programs, create a workshop, create a platform where young people are able to get a lot of knowledge and expertise, but also build their mind into how to encounter this world of entrepreneurship, especially that. Uh, the startup ecosystem is not a field where many women are presented. It's so important to have your mentality strong and resilient because you have less people to relate to, and that's really difficult. So having your mentality built up is very important.
All right. So that's also, I think, when you get these organizations and institutions to work towards it, towards
Yeah,
providing that kind of support. Then,
yeah,
yes, you kind of formalize it, you make it available. And then, of course, the youth also coming forward to create these
yeah.
kind of opportunities
Hmm.
each other.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Serena, tell me, in your work across diverse regions, how do culture, family expectations, and gender roles intersect
Mhm.
to shape a young woman's confidence and risk appetite in the world of today?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think family is so important to the success of every female, um, especially because we're more deeply connected with our families. And that's so important to have that emotional support system from your family, really supporting you, having your back, and wanting to always have a place for you to open up. And that is so key for every young person, every woman especially, to have a good support system from their family. I mean, it is a lot better, preferred to come from a family of connections, but that's not the case for many young women, where you're able to have your parents helping you along the way. So having a good support system is possible in every single family, and having that is going to go a very long way and make a really big difference. But yeah.
Okay. So, yes, I think families, so that's why you have families, because they're supposed to love you, protect,
Yeah.
support you. So, if you have a strong family background in the sense where they
Yeah.
have raised you in a way where they've given you that confidence, they've given you the flexibility, the opportunity to do what you want to do, obviously that's going to, help you build your confidence and face the world in a better way, right? So, yes,
Yeah.
strong family support is so essential. So, Sarina, you are both a strategist and a storyteller, a
Mhm.
TEDx speaker and an advocate. So, how
Yeah.
do you balance emotion with evidence when you're pushing for systemic change?
Yeah. Um, as a woman, I think we're so deeply rooted with our gut. And that's such a beautiful thing because this is our second brain. And not always, I mean, as a person who really relies on data, I also think that not everything in life is in forms of numbers and digits and mathematical equations. They're also in forms of your instinct and what your gut says in that moment. Sometimes when data aren't presented, when um, they aren't there, so having your second brain decide for some parts is very important. Sometimes in decisions like certain partnerships, when it doesn't feel right, it's I really trust my gut because it has led me to very right directions. And I mean, years after I realized, oh wow, it was really a bad decision, and my gut really knew. And as a woman, this is such a amazing thing to have. That deeply rooted connection with your second brain is so important, and trusting your gut, trusting how you feel, and that is so important. And also sometimes how you feel physically, and respecting that by taking care of yourself is also really really key. So
That's
that's
a,
how I do it.
and that's so true because we do have that inner voice, that gut, which tells
Yeah.
us when you're doing something which you're not supposed to be doing, there is a voice out there which is telling you.
Yeah.
You may still
Hmm.
go ahead and do it, but then that means you didn't listen to that voice. But yes,
Right.
as women, we do have and we should kind of, use that more
Yeah.
effectively.
Mhm.
All right. So, do you like a number of things which women do? Women led social impact work is often labeled as passion, rather than having anything to do with power. So, how
Yeah.
do we change the way women's leadership is valued and funded, especially in this space?
Yeah. Yeah, I do see that actually. That is such an unfortunate reality of how women's work is perceived, although it's incredible work, such as Sophia Kiani. She has translated over 500,000 words of climate, and she is pushing so much for social impact. And I do see that women are perceived more so passion, rather power. And I think it's important to change those societal perceptions because they really affect those resources that they gather, including funding. And we can really, these platforms are doing a great job of just amplifying the impact that women are making, and just making sure that the world knows that women are doing so much more than what they're perceived to do, um, such as, just amplifying the impact that they're making and amplifying their voices, trying to have a platform where their success is visible, so that for next and next generations or people who view that in place of power be able to know that women are A, are capable, and B, are so much more than just quote unquote passion.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, amplifying the voices, talking about it, I think that is very
Mhm.
essential. Because when you
Yeah,
see numbers, like we're talking about data, so when you see numbers in this, you see the number of women who are doing it, it makes an impact all across.
yeah,
Women know there are other women who are doing it, men know there are women doing it. So
mhm,
overall, the impact is greater. And then people have no choice but to take that work seriously, to understand
yeah,
it is not only passion, it is maybe a way of life for them. So I think, yes,
yeah,
doing it more and more and amplifying it, talking about it is
yeah.
definitely going to help. So, Serena, looking ahead, what must the entrepreneurial ecosystems urgently unlearn to truly support the next generation of women founders?
Yeah. The number one thing is societal perception, putting gender, age, any other um, any other discriminatory like pieces aside from capability, looking at ideas from a merit standpoint and evaluating them based on um, their um, true potential rather than labeling it with gender. Oh, this is founded by someone who's 16, so we don't really want to pursue this. So, looking at things such as ideas, impacts, as you said, the social impact without labels is so important. And that is such a possible and simple thing to do. I mean, we're not asking for millions of dollars of funding. We're not asking for hundreds of mentorship programs to be filmed and distributed. We're asking for a simple piece that is going to impact so much. And that is only fair because if we're not looking at ideas just from a merit standpoint, then we are just proving that we are living in a unequal world, an unfair one, where people are more favored over the other just because of this circumstances that's not really affecting the true outcome.
True, true. So I think, giving it, how should I say, a more impartial view with age, gender, all those things not coming into the picture, and just the idea, the thought behind it, giving it an objective evaluation. I think that is what is required.
Yeah.
All
Hmm.
right. So finally, if you could speak to a young woman with a powerful idea, but deep self doubt, what would you
Yeah.
want her to know before she takes the first step?
Yeah. I think there are so many incredible women hundreds and hundreds of years ago where there was massive restrictions. They still made incredible impact in their societies. And there is nothing in this world that women cannot achieve. They're so capable, dedicated, and committed to what they're doing. They are so um, powerful to make the impact that they want. And you, as a woman, you are too. You are so capable of achieving whatever you have ahead in your life, um, and I think it's important to remember that even if it's not for you, you should do it for the next generations who are going to look up to you and say, this woman did it with these restrictions. And just remember that this is this impacts more than you. This impacts many other young people, young girls who are going to be watching you and uh, have someone to relate to. So you are very powerful and you have an incredible impact.
Wonderful. So don't look at anything from just your perspective or how it is going to impact you. Look at it how it is going to impact and inspire the future generations, the future
Yeah,
generation. That I think is such a forward thinking and such, I think, I mean, for you to come up with this is really, really credible because, many times we're only thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Think how
Yeah.
it can impact other people. But when we do that, and especially when you're looking at it from the point of view of the coming generations,
Yeah.
it is actually so wonderful. Okay. So, Sarina, while we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round, which is 5 quick questions, 5 quick answers. So, are you ready for that?
Yes. Let's do it.
All right. So, the first one, a moment in your journey when you felt most powerful.
When I was advocating for policy,
All right. Wonderful. Next, one belief about women's leadership you've had to unlearn.
that woman can't do it.
Okay, great. Next, a boundary that changed your life.
Um, I don't know the answer to that one. I don't really have an answer.
Okay, I'll give you another one.
Cool.
Success to you means what?
Impact.
Great. Next, one habit you wish every young woman entrepreneur built early on.
To speak up.
Yes. I think not only a woman entrepreneur, but women per se need to speak up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, one more, I'm doing an extra one. A word you want young women to reclaim.
Impact.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that sums it up. And I must say, it was a huge learning for me also to see how young people, young women are thinking nowadays. And what I've always believed, and I continue to believe, is that women all across the world, all across generations also, are very, very similar, because there are similarities in the way we are raised, in the way we live our lives. So there is a lot to learn from each other. And I think there are huge takeaways from the conversation that we've had today. So thank you so much for doing this and for being on the show.
Thank you so much for your time and having me on here. It was such a pleasure. Lovely questions, incredible energy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her Show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her Show.